get started too late here. So we're going to get started. Welcome, Friday morning, Allamakee County Advanced Manufacturing Panel. We are so glad that we have some great panelists joining us today. We might have another one that joins in and we can get that person caught up if he does. For right now, I'm going to turn it over to Erika from the NICC Walk-On Center, and she is going to get started on some questions for the panel.
Yeah, good morning and welcome everybody. I want to thank everybody for taking the time out of their day to have this discussion today. We typically have in-person advanced manufacturing tours in the fall, and since we can't do them this year, this is the next best thing. So thank you for being here. So we do have some teachers, some students, some economic development people involved in the discussion today. So I am going to ask the questions and I will call on the panelists. But if students or teachers have questions, please put them in the chat box and I'll be sure to be watching that too, and we'll get your questions out. So let's get started with some introductions. I will actually have our panelists introduce themselves. So if you could share with the group your name, the company you work for, how long you've been at that company, what your role is, and if you just want to give kind of a brief description of what your business is to get started, we'll kind of dig into that a little bit more as we get going too. So Willie, do you want to go first?
Sure. My name is Willie Hendrickson. The company that I work at right now is AVEKA Nutra Processing in Waukon. It's a food processing company. We're actually a contract manufacturer. So companies send us their food materials and then we do a process and charge them a fee for that. The company, AVEKA Nutra Processing, has been around since 2011 when we moved to the town and bought the Foremost Dairy and started the plant. The company, AVEKA Nutra Processing, is actually a part of a bigger company called the AVEKA Group, which I am the founder and CEO of. I founded the company in 1994, and we do particle processing. In Waukon, we do food processing, but in AVEKA in Woodbury, we do ceramic materials, and in our Fredericksburg plant, we'll do animal feed, just to give you an example. As a company, like I said, we've been around now for 26 years, and last year we had a big event for us. We actually converted ourselves from a privately held company where I was one of the major shareholders to an ESOP, which is an employee-owned company. So that should be enough, Erika. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Erika, do you want to go next?
Cool, Willie. Hey, we're in Waukon. Realcore has been around since 1994, and Realcore makes plastic reels. So basically, it's like how I explain to people, it's like a spool of thread, except that spool is much larger. And we sell it to companies that make hoses, wires, and cables. They'll take their product, wrap it around Realcore reels, and that's how they basically move their product. It's a packaging product. So what's cool about Realcore is that we use recycled materials, partially recycled materials to make our product. And we run our own recycling program. So that's, I feel really good about that. And I enjoy working for a company like that. I do HR for Realcore, which I love. And what else was I supposed to say? I think I've been with Realcore for like 7 years, maybe 8, somewhere around there. I think that's about it.
Yeah, I think you hit everything. Awesome, thank you. Okay, so the next question we're gonna go into is, what interested you in this career? How did you end up where you're at today? Willie, do you wanna take that one first?
Wow, that's a heck of a question. For me, my background is I am a chemist by training, and I got my undergraduate degree at St. Olaf College in Minnesota, and then I went to graduate school in chemistry at University of Florida. And after that, I joined 3M, and I thought I was going to be a chemist because I got trained as a chemist. But what happened is, and you find this when you join companies, is I was immediately converted into a chemical engineer, and turned out I loved it. And I ended up having a group at one time at 3M that was doing particle technology, which is grinding or drying or micro encapsulation. So when you think of scratch and sniff, those are some of the things that we actually do. And I was working at 3M and I was completely happy there. And one day my boss said, you know, Willie, we don't really need this particle technology anymore. Why don't you get rid of your group? And a couple of weeks later, I raised my hand and I said, how about if I get rid of my group and I buy it? And so I bought that section of from 3M and I started my own company. So, you know, Eric, to answer your question, you know, I always intended to be a chemist and I ended up a chemical engineer. And from there, I ended up an entrepreneur. Who would have ever guessed?
Awesome. What a cool story.
Mm.
Erika, do you want to share yours?
Yeah, I originally went to school to be an accountant because my dad had a business and he needed an accountant. So he told me to go be an accountant. However, I got a summer job at Hormel, the people that make ham or spam and ham. And I hated it. The only guy I got to talk to all day long was the guy that brought me the reports from the day before that he, you know, the liver, how many livers they processed in the last 24 hours and how many hearts that they had, you know, gotten in the last 24 hours. It was horrible. I felt like I had such a need to connect with people that I felt like I was going to throw up every day after work. That's not a cool place to be. So I decided to change my my focus more toward business, just to try to figure out where I fit in the career world. And I landed at a company, Manpower. They're an HR firm. In fact, we used to hire for AVEKA in a few different places. And I loved it. I loved HR because you get to talk to people and solve problems and connect them with resources. It was the right fit for me.
Awesome. So can you both talk about the different positions that you have at your business and maybe what training or career needs are needed for that position? Like, do you need a college education? What kind of soft skills do you need? Just those types of things of what you're looking for when you're hiring for those positions. Let's go with Erika first on this one.
So for HR in particular, like the role that I have, or for the role that we hire for?
I would say what you're hiring for.
Okay. So when we look to make our hires, soft skills are super important to us. RealCore is unique. I think every manufacturing company is unique because you hire people from those that can operate machines and have a hands-on skill set to accountants or engineers or just a variety of people. So the skill sets are super varied depending on what you're interested in doing as a student. Some of the major things that we look for are soft skills. So someone who's going to be able to work well with others, or has a good ability to be a team player, someone who can come in and work well with others, come in every day on time. Basically, any job that you have, those are things that are really important to RealCore.
Awesome. Willie, what about at AVEKA? What kind of education levels or training, soft skills are needed for positions at AVEKA?
So basically, we have three basic classes of employees. We have operators, we have engineers, and we have maintenance people. The operators and the maintenance people, you know, high school education is fine. The soft skills that you have to have for those jobs is, you have to be able to read. You know, some math skills are absolutely nice. It's really nice for us if you understand that when you take a job, you have to show up to the job every day. That's a incredible one that's sometimes hard for some people to understand. The training that we end up providing for people is you end up doing some fairly complicated jobs, and so that ability to learn and to be interested in having new experiences in our company becomes very important. For the third position, the engineer position, that's a college education. So that's a 4-year degree, typically in chemical engineering, mechanical engineering, or industrial engineering. And we have 2 of those engineers at our plant, and we'll probably hire 2 or 3 more in the near future. So quite a breadth of education and types of jobs that people have.
Great, thank you. I just want to remind the students and teachers that if you have, we will get to those. Okay, what are some of the responsibilities in your career and what do you enjoy the most? Erika, I know that you had talked about that you love people, but what else? What do you love specifically about manufacturing or RealCore besides working with the people?
That's a great question. HR is important. It's so important because you can have, if you have your business, you can have all the right tools, the right facility, everything. But if you don't have the right people, you've got nothing. So HR does that for organizations. They provide the most valuable resource that you can have at that company. It's the people. So HR does everything from creating a workplace that people want to be at so you can attract the right person to work at RealCore, to engaging people once they are working, and then taking someone and aligning them with your business strategies so that you can have them in the right position with the right skills so that they can grow with an organization. That legal stuff, a bunch of paperwork, but that's some of the best part about HR is taking the business and the people and aligning them.
Great. We have a question from the audience here. Oh, go ahead, Willie. Why don't you answer that one, then we'll go into.
I want to work at RealCore. I mean, I'm ready.
What? Talk to me later, Willie.
Willie, do you want to touch on that too? What do you enjoy most?
For me, being a technical, the most important thing for me would be the technical parts of it. But to be honest, I enjoy the people. I enjoy working with the employees, and in my job, I'm actually talking with the customers. And so to have that interaction, that daily interaction with people, that's an incredibly invigorating part of my job. Is trying to figure out a problem, trying to work with the people, trying to help either my customers or my employees get the job done. It's an extremely important part of my business, my job, my enjoyment.
Great. All right, we have a couple of questions from the audience here we'll go into. Raymond is asking, what advice would you give someone looking to go into that field? And he's saying specifically the maintenance field. So we have a student interested in maintenance. What advice do you have for him? Let's go. Willie, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, that's a great question. When you're maintenance, you're a very special person in a plant because you almost have to operate on your own, and you're going to be in different parts of the plant doing different things. So having that flexibility is one real important aspect. And obviously, and I bring this up, is the more that you know about the specific tools and the equipment that you're working on, this is an incredibly important part of it. So even though you're going to school right now to maybe learn to be a maintenance person or whatever it is, what you'll find to be the best type of person in that area is to really embrace this continuous learning. Because if you're embracing continuous learning, you are becoming a better and better person all the time. And so as even your maintenance career or any part of your career, is if you're gathering more information, you become more and more valuable to your employer.
So if you were going to hire somebody in the maintenance area, Willie, do they need a 2-year degree? Do you train on the job? Do you want them to have like an electrician background, or what do you look for in maintenance?
I would say that the first thing that I look for is one of two things. Do they work on their own car? Or have they worked on a farm? Because, it's very hard to know, does somebody really have that interest and skills and aptitude, particularly in maintenance? But, if you've already worked on a farm or you do work on your own car, wow. I mean, we probably already know that you might have some aptitude and interest in that. So when you put together your resume, And I apologize. I'm going to tell a little short story here, because it's really germane to this. Is that when I had my first job at 3M, I'm a PhD chemist at 3M, and 3 years after I joined, I'd done well at 3M, and I was walking down the hall with the person that had hired me, and I asked Wes. I said, "Why did you hire me? I wasn't the smartest. I wasn't the best interview. I know that because I've seen that since then. But you hired me, and I think I've done well." And he said, "Well, Willie, you because of your resume." And I thought, my resume? Oh my God, what was on my resume 3 years ago? And it turned out, he said it was the last line of your resume. He actually remembered it. He said, "You are the only PhD that we ever hired that had worked in a gas station, worked on cars, and had worked on a farm." I was sick and tired of hiring people that didn't know how to twist around. So whether it's an engineer or a maintenance person, getting that right thing on your resume right to start with, whatever little bits and pieces you can get is important. And I'm sorry, Erika, I took too much time.
No, that was perfect. And just to kind of summarize what you said, these students who are in high school, if they're working on the farm, working on their car, they have a job in high school, all of that matters. So the experience that they're getting right now matters down the road. So what about you, Erika? So if you're going to hire for maintenance, what are you looking for? And what kind of advice do you have for Raymond?
We really are looking for someone with the educational background, because then you have the ability to and the experience from school to take a scientific approach to how to deal with problems. I completely agree with Willie that hands-on was so helpful. When we bring people in, we actually have them go through a problem or two. Just we show them, hey, let's say that this is something that's wrong. Can you please walk us through that? And those that have had some hands-on experience, even if they're just out of school, but they worked on their car, they worked at a farm or whatever, they worked on their lawnmower, and they have that ability to problem solve. That's what we look for. So the educational background, and then also for maintenance people, I know we talked about this earlier, but soft skills are super important because you have to work with people to fix things. So if you went to school and you have a background in electrical and you go to a machine and you can't that piece of equipment, then it's going to be almost impossible for you to know how to fix it. So we also look for really good communication skills and someone who's going to work well with others.
Great. We have another question from the audience here. Val Ranke from Economic Development is asking, what makes your company a company of choice? Why would someone seek your company out? Willie, do you want to start with that one?
That's it. Boy, that's it. There's the loaded question of all loaded questions. You can always say that we have great benefits, we pay well, we have flexible hours, all those sorts of things. But for me, why I hope people want to come in our plant is because it's a lifestyle that you want to have, excuse me, that you want to have, and you want to go to work because it's an enjoyable and fun place to work. And so part of my job is, I'm the plant manager down in Waukon, and the CEO is to make sure that everybody is having a good time. It's not just about making money, because if it's just about making money, you would flip jobs every time you could get a nickel raise. And the reality is money's important, but having a good time, it's incredibly huge.
Great. Erika, how about RealCore? What makes RealCore a company of choice?
I would definitely agree with Willie. I think something that RealCore has going for it is it employs great people. And when you can go to work every day, besides the pay and the benefits and a catered lunch, which all come and go, I think that when you can go to work every day and love who you work with and enjoy it and have a good time and you're joking around and you're helping each other and there's a real team environment and it feels fair, I think that makes a place where you want to continue working and you enjoy going to every day.
Great. All right, well, let's keep those questions coming from the audience. Make sure you put them in the chat for us. All right, how about technology? Let's just talk about the pace of technology, how it changes, and what types of technology you use at your businesses. Erika, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, we use a lot, actually. We were just taking a look at, we're getting ready for an ISO audit, and we had to update all of our software, and we're taking a look at the different softwares that we use, and there were just pages and pages. There's so much that go into manufacturing that's technical. If you're working in maintenance, you're working on the programming of the machines. If you're even a machine operator, we have tablets at every single machine, and you need to know how to work that tablet and the software on the tablet to be able to communicate with your supervisor when he's not within earshot. If you're working in engineering, you're working on the CAD software, the design software. In sales, you're working with a customer management software. Every piece of RealCore, shipping and receiving, you have your database of who's coming in and getting the labels ready. No matter where you're at RealCore, there's going to be software and hardware that you're going to need to learn. And if you have a basis already that you've gotten while you were in school or on your own, that's going to be so much more helpful to you as you start work at RealCore.
Great. Willie, how about AVEKA?
So AVEKA is a company that our customers are typically companies DuPont or Kraft Foods, and these are really high-tech companies. And so, as Erika was saying, there's an absolute necessity of understanding the IT part of technology, and you know that's part of the business. But for us, we have a lot of chemical engineering. Even as an operator, by the time that you've become a good technical operator, you are starting to pick up an awful lot of technology, be it chemical engineering or mechanical engineering or even chemistry or physics. You know, this is, I'm not trying to scare somebody away, but the reality is that manufacturing jobs, whether it's at a RealCore or at an AVEKA, you know, there's a lot of technology in there. So a lot of good STEM understanding is always important. And for us, I mean, we live, eat, and die on technology at our company.
So that kind of goes right into my next question. This is kind of a fun one, but what's one class in high school or college that you thought, I'm never really going to use this, but in fact, you use it on a regular basis? Willie, does that come up at all for you?
Oh yeah. For me, the class that I hated in high school and college, I hated it, was English. What the heck does a scientist need to have English for God's sakes? And the reality is I have to communicate all the time, either by writing or by reading or whatever. And it was probably more important than I gave it credit for. So something as orthogonal to science is English turned out to be one of the more important classes that I've used to make my career than anything. That's a great question, Erika. I love it.
What about you, Erika?
You know what, at the time when I was doing a business law class and you're going through all the different rules and regulations, before I realized I was going to end up in HR, I was fascinated, but thought, man, it's probably pretty useless for me in the future. But it was things that you kind of pull back on all the time in this role.
Great, great. Any other questions from the audience? I'm not seeing any come in. We have about 5 more minutes here. So, oh, here we go. How old do you have to be to get a job at your company? Do you hire for just a summer job or internships? Willie, do you want to take that one?
You know, OSHA has a requirement that when you're working in a manufacturing environment that you should be at least 18. You know, we have had people younger, but you know, we have had summer internships, but you know, when you're into the full blown with the big equipment, 18 is probably the right age. But like I said, we've had people that have been 16 that have worked at the company, and yes, we do hire we do have summer jobs. and internships.
Okay, great. And if students are interested in reaching out to you, can we share your information, or how should they get in touch with you at AVEKA?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, actually, please pass on my email address. And if any of the students would like to have a tour of our plant, we'd love to have you come up. You know, in groups or singly, I'd be happy to personally give you a tour of the plant.
Great. How about RealCore, Erika?
So we hire those that are 18 and older, and for us, it's kind of a hard line. And we do summer internships and summer jobs, depending on the role and what you're interested in. We do try to tailor it for individuals if it makes sense for what you're looking for at RealCore.
And same with you. Can we share your contact information if they're interested in?
Yes, you may.
Okay, great. Stephanie, do we have time for a couple more questions here?
I think we do. We have a couple more minutes.
Okay, sounds good. We talked a little bit about this, about working on the farm or working on your car, but what other activities, programs, experiences do you recommend these students get while they're in high school that will help prepare them for a career in manufacturing, or really any career? Erika, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I would say volunteer work. If there are any opportunities for you to volunteer and help others, I think that would be a great place to get some soft skills. Others, how to interact with others, how to give, because that'll benefit you in the future. And you'll get to work with different personality types, learn a little altruism, which I think is great. And I would say, if you have that post-secondary education option at school, if you can take college courses while you're in high school, definitely jump on that, because that'll propel you forward a little faster, or maybe even make you more eligible for an internship, have different skill sets than others that are applying at the same time that you are.
Great. Willie?
You know, that's a great question. No one's ever asked me that question, and so I'm kind of struggling a little bit. I would say, you know, something that really something that you should look for is any kind of job, just to get a I have to be at work on time sort of thing, and understanding the importance of what your employer is looking for. I think that's really helpful. I actually think the more types of good experiences that you can have in high school, the different sort of classes could be very important. And actually, you know, at the end of the day, playing on a sports team, as much as that doesn't really relate to being a worker, it does in a way. So if you're playing on sports, if you're on a team, you're on a team to actually help your teammates. And so if you can actually do that, that's the same thing as going to work. So you know, having a job and playing sports and getting every experience that you can out of high school, different classes, are all probably really worthwhile.
Great. We have a question for Mr. Rankin. Are you currently hiring, and what positions do you currently have available? So Erika, do you want to tell us about RealCore, what positions you're currently hiring?
So we are currently hiring for our second shift and third shift machine operator, which is our entry-level position. And basically what you do as a machine operator, we make plastic pieces. So a machine operator deflashes that product. So basically what that means is, if you've ever put together a model car, you know how you have to take off the excess plastic from those little plastic pieces to be able to assemble that car? Basically, you're doing that at RealCore. You're taking off the excess plastics so that we can have the rest of the reel to be able to manufacture.
Great. How about at AVEKA, Willie? Are you currently?
You know, we just finished hiring 15 people, and hopefully they all stick around. But we are seemingly we're always hiring, and it's for, you know, all the shift. It's an operator position. You know, we have you come in, and the first thing that you do is you package powders. It's the worst job in the world. I mean, to be frankly, it's the worst job in the world. But, you know, you got to kind of prove yourself somehow that you can show up to work and you can kind of get it done, kind of like picking the pieces off the plastic parts. But ultimately, all these jobs are leading right into all the main operators, the dryer operators, the microfiltration operators, the liquid processing operators that we have. So we're continually hiring. Please come up and give both Erika and I an application. We'd love to hear from any of you.
Great. So one more time, if Mr. Faring or Mr. Rankin or any of the students have any final questions for our awesome panelists this morning. All right. Steph, do you want to take it from here?
Yes, well, I just want to thank the panelists. I will be sending out a survey for both the employers and the students. If you guys don't mind, I'll just put your guys' email address, Willie and Erika, on that survey, on that follow-up email, so that in case they have any special questions to ask either one of you. Is that okay?
Perfect.
Great. And we did have one question come in just right now. Do you offer any welding positions at either one of your locations?
We do. It's a maintenance position, but we do hire people that have welding experience for sure.
We don't hire straight fabricators or someone that's going to weld their entire shift. However, in certain roles, you do need to have some welding experience.
Great, great. Well, thank you for that additional question to the student that asked that. Well, again, our time is up today. Oh, Mr. Rankin is just thanking everyone. The second hour class arrived and started watching. So that is awesome news. And they'll be able to watch this if they missed the first section of it. So again, Willie, Erika, thank you for your time. We do appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a good Friday. The Allamakee students at Waukon, if you guys could stay on, that would be great. I'll give everyone a few moments to log off if you are not the Allamakee students. Thank you again.